YouTube land. This is Brenton Sawin coming to you from Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. I've been making some Bigfoot Dogman videos here lately on Mysteries to Search, and I've been reaching out to a few people here and there. I guess you probably have seen the Kirk Stokes interviews, J.C. Johnson, and also Vic Cundiff with Dogman Radio. I've had a few people that have come onto the show and talked about their research and the different things that they're doing in this area of the cryptid research. Today I had someone the other day comment, Dr. Squatch, who is actually Dr. Joe Carey, a chiropractor from Pennsylvania, who is doing some Bigfoot research and actually even catching other type cryptids. And I thought I would reach out to him and ask him to come on and talk about what he's doing. So, we're going to talk to Dr. Joe Carey today from Pennsylvania. Hello, Joe. How you doing?
Oh, great, Brenton. Thank you so much for putting me on your show.
Well, you're welcome, brother, and I appreciate you coming on. I was reading in the About list on your show, and I seen that you are you're a Christian researcher also, like myself, and I thought that was awesome. And it was kind of cool to hear that you're a chiropractor. I've got some chiropractor friends here in Kentucky, so you kind of are like a brother to me already.
I'm just wonderful, and same with you with the Bigfoot and the Dogman. We're just trying to bring this out and prove it to the world.
Right.
I appreciate your show very much.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Now, I was wanting to start out with what ended up making you so curious about the Bigfoot and Dogman and actually go out and get a camera. Have you had some encounters with Bigfoot?
Well, it was about 10, 11 years ago. I was bow hunting, archery for deer, and I was looking down the hill, and it looked like a big black guy in a hoodie. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, what is he doing down by the creek? He's going to get shot. So I got out my binoculars and I was kind of focusing in, and gee, it was a lot more blurry in my binoculars than with my plain eyes. And I'm trying to focus the binoculars, and boy, the sun came out and it hit this thing's back. And I only had to look at it for 3 seconds. I dropped the binoculars. I knew what I was looking at. I only saw its back. I saw its head and shoulders. I could see muscles, trapezius muscles, rhomboid muscles. I know the muscles.
Right.
And they 4 or 5 inch long, brown reddish hair. Although it looked very black when I was looking at it with my plain eyes.
Right.
And I had an office inside a gym. I was hunting right behind the gym. So I come running in to tell everybody because, they know I'm honest and everything. And I never even, gave Bigfoot a second thought. I saw the Patterson video a long time ago, but, watched it once and just blew it off.
Yeah.
But so I was running in and telling everybody I just saw Bigfoot. And the one kid was going to be a cop. And he looked at me and he goes, oh, okay, Dr. Squatch. And everybody started laughing and... I hated that name. It was a mockery.
Yeah.
To prove it to everybody, and now I'm kind of proud of my name.
yeah, that's a great name to have. Especially, I have a really good friend who's a chiropractor, Dr. McClellan here in Kentucky, and we all call him Doc. So if he saw a Bigfoot, that's probably exactly what we would have called him, Dr. Squatch or Doc Squatch or something like that. So that's awesome. So when you saw this thing, you knew pretty quick what it was, because being a doctor and someone who gives people chiropractic adjustments, you're really familiar with the body and the posture and all those kind of things, aren't you?
Right, and that's you know, it went from a black hoodie to a muscular, hairy. I mean, I knew what I was looking at. There was just no question about it.
Right. Wow, that's
You know,
incredible.
and then people are like, "Oh, it's a homeless guy down there." Oh, okay. I mean, these skeptics, it just cracks me up. You know, it's probably where I was. I'd say the cheapest house is about $400,000. I mean, there is no homeless people running around in the woods. That's just so silly.
Right.
So,
Right.
so this story actually gets real good, Brad. I started going out just about every day because I wanted to prove this to people.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just mainly walking around, and I had another sighting. There was something just caught my eye on a stump, and I didn't know what it was, and I saw a bush shaking, and I thought, oh, it's just the wind, you know, blowing that bush. So I went home, and I thought, oh, my goodness, there was no wind that day. Why, you know, that bush shouldn't have been shaking like that. So I went back out to where that bush was, and there's a giant hollowed-out stump. And whatever, I think there was a little one inside that stump, and a big one was next to it, shaking that bush. Totally got me off guard. I just thought it was a moving, you know, bush in the wind. So that's what really started intriguing me. After people teasing me and knowing, you know, that I was seeing these things, I started baiting them, and then
Yeah.
dolls and Dolls, Stegosauruses, all kinds of dinosaurs, you name it, I put it out there by the street. And it was kind of interesting what they were doing. The Dora doll, boy, they don't like Dora. They smashed her head in, and I found her about 5 feet away from the stump, face down. The baby doll was also placed face down about 5 feet away. And I found a large gray hair in the Barbie doll under her armpit. And it was like fishing line. It was real strong.
Right.
I didn't get it tested because they want $6,000 to test it when it's going to come back, you know, unknown species, and then there goes your $6,000.
Yeah.
But they pretty much messed with everything, and I would wedge them in the stump so, you know, I know that something wasn't just bumping them. They pretty much messed with everything except the Stegosaurus. They didn't touch it.
Wow.
You know, I had saber-toothed tigers. They took those, and I was baiting them, giving them food, set up hundreds of trail cameras, just never got anything on trail camera. They were just scammy cameras.
Wow.
And,
They hated the Dora, huh? What's up with that?
They did. I couldn't have smashed her head in with a hammer, so I don't know why they don't like Dora.
Well, is there some odd colors or something you think they're not liking, or the?
I can only speculate. I wonder if I still have the doll. I'll have to send you a picture.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. Huh? That's very interesting.
I probably researched it for, I don't know, about 2 years, I'd say, real hard. And I was a couple $100,000 in debt from school, so I was just buying disposable cameras and basically filming with my cell phone. And I probably had a couple hundred pictures, and I sent them all to this researcher, and he said he never got them. So all my pictures and all that proof was out the door. But it really, I got a real good knowledge of the woods, going out and just really scouting without filming. And where they were, how they marked these woods. I went out and got a camera, and I probably take, I'd say, roughly 100 videos a month. And I'm only about 6 months into this. And, you know, if you guys go and check out my proof and my pictures, it's through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I looked at some of your pictures. Now I agree with you on what you're catching is something. Now if I put those videos on my side, I know I would get a lot of feedback that's pareidolia, you know, that's kind of like cloud watching or what have you. But these things are very, very good at hiding and camouflaging, and that's why it's so hard to get them on camera. And you had some interesting theories about the blinking Bigfoot video that I had posted with Kirk Stokes. The Bigfoot morph, I think I labeled it Big Red Bigfoot morph,
Right.
something like that. Could you explain the that theory that you had with the glass and what have you?
Sure. A few of my videos I called the one that was two blinking Bigfoots at 1541, it's called. And I could have sworn they were blinking at me. I was zoomed in, and I was in full leaf camo, head to toe that day. And I think they thought that I was one of these woods people, or forest people, and they were trying to communicate with me. I thought they were blinking, and when I got home and we zoomed in and enhanced it, it looks like it's a triangular piece of something, and it was reflecting. So I went back to the spot the next day, and I found triangular pieces of glass underneath the tree. And now when I, come up upon a Bigfoot den or a tree that's cleared out where I think they're sitting, there's always a piece of glass there, and a rock. So I believe that they're silently communicating, reflecting to another one up in the tree. I mean, it's very smart. Instead of going, "Hey, Tom, somebody's coming," let's just be quiet and shake some glass.
Yeah.
I see it everywhere. And glass, it just shouldn't be where I'm finding it.
Right.
So
yeah.
that's my theory on that.
Wow.
And every now and then you'll see me walking with my video, and I zoom down. I'm like, "Look, folks, there's a piece of glass."
Huh. And this is like out in the woods. There would be no reason for glass to be there. No, there is no like water that gets up into those areas and stuff like that, or.
No, I mean, occasionally I'll find a pop or like a beer bottle, but generally, there's really no litter, or anybody in. Nobody's going where I'm going. That's what's interesting.
Right. Yeah, that is an interesting theory. That's for sure. Have you ever noticed them to use infrasound?
Yes. Yes, I've been zapped, I'd say about 5 or 6 times. So I will tell you, folks, that is legit. Every time I've been zapped, I've been maybe 40, 50 yards away from my truck. And I mean, when I get zapped, I'm looking at my truck. I can see it. But I have to find trees and mark them and try to march to that tree because I feel like I'm not going to find my truck. I mean, it is the worst confusion, lost feeling, panic. I'm a diabetic. If you're a diabetic, when you get a low sugar, that's what it feels like. It feels like you are going to pass out.
Okay,
so
now some.
I might think I'm having a low sugar, and I'm running to get sugar, and I'm thinking, wait a second, I just had a keyboard. I got to be like 300 or 400. I'm not low.
Okay, so this now some people might not have ever heard of the term zapped, but that's an actual term with the certain type of big search researcher. They use that term zapped. Can you explain a little bit about what zapped is?
I guess it's frequency. A lot of animals have that, where they can disorient their prey by sending out a signal, and that's when they can, kind of jump on prey because they're a little disoriented. So I think if you get a little too close to these Bigfoot, instead of them coming out or, making themselves visible, they can just send out a shock wave, if you will, a little bit. It just kind of disrupts the person. One time I was hunting, and I was getting zapped, and it felt like a train was going by. I mean, the ground was literally shaking like an earthquake. And I had my gun. I was afraid to turn around. I mean, I know that doesn't make any sense, but, it feels like the hair sticking up on the back of your neck and the ground shaking. You just don't want to move.
Wow. That's so incredible. Yeah, see, I had a video. Someone sent me the story, and I'm gonna enter. I read the story from an email he sent, but he agreed that he would come on. His name is Steve Bledsoe, lives in Oklahoma, and he said that he got hit with infrasound, and it really did a number on him physiologically, and scared him pretty bad, and he ended up snagging up little brother, I think it was, and ran because he didn't know what it was. It was only later because it roared after the infrasound, but it actually vibrated him to the core, like actually vibrated his body. Do you think this infrasound kind of interacts with the maybe water molecules? And do you? Someone said to me the other day, basically, that when they use that infrasound, they can even vibrate their own bodies in such a way that it makes them harder to see. It reflects the light off of them, like it vibrates the water molecules in their own body, and then whenever light hits them, it reflects off, and it's harder to see them. Do you think there's anything to such a thing as that?
Yeah, I'm about 100% sure on that from filming these creatures. My theory on it is, you ever, like, when your dog's scared and you put your hand on its back and he's shaking like a million miles an hour? That's
Yes.
what I think they're doing. I don't think that they're so much scared, but I think that they can vibrate themselves to a certain frequency that when you're filming them, I mean, you're in 1080 high def, and it just, I mean, I can't see them. I can see them after I go through and I still frame everything, but geez, oh man, your eyes cannot pick them up. I mean, I've walked right by them, looked right in the bush pile, and thought, oh, nothing was there. Like yesterday, I looked right in this bush pile. It was open too. Didn't see anything in there. And when I went home, there was one sitting in there, and you know, I enhanced him and filtered him, and my mom was like, "Wow, was that a good Bigfoot?" And I'm thinking, I mean, I couldn't even see this thing, and I looked right in that pile.
Yeah,
it takes years to train your eyes to see these things. Like you said before our phone call started, you said, "Oh, I saw this perfect dog, man," and people were like, "Where?" You know, and
yeah,
you see it, but to them, they're just not there.
Right. Now that last video that I made where the Bigfoot morph, and then I labeled it Big Red. There's a Bigfoot and a dog man in the same pan shot, and the Bigfoot looks, I mean, you can see the outline shape of it, but it almost looks just slightly transparent, as if it is doing something like the infrasound or something. But I thought it was blinking, and you think it's using glass to reflect and signal, and that may be the case. But it looks a little bit kind of the upper body looks more visible. Maybe it's because it's in the brush or something, but it kind of looks transparent to me. So this theory about the infrasound and being able to vibrate, that's what makes me think that they're they're physical creatures, but there's a supernatural element to them, but that doesn't make them not flesh and blood. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think they're more like a chameleon. What I've noticed is if they're touching something, they can mimic it. I mean, down to the bark. But if they're out in the open, they don't blur very much. You know, I can definitely get them if they're out in the open pretty clear. I've noticed they can blend into things so well. And I've also noticed that they have what I call camo eyes. They have almost like peacocks, where they have those fake eyes in their feathers. They definitely have fake eyes underneath their eyes and above their eyes. Because a lot of times I'll think that's the eye, and I zoom in and everything, and it's like, whoa, that's not blinking. Right above it was blinking. So I do see that a lot, but I don't believe, personally, in them vanishing. And the reason I don't, for one, I haven't seen it, and for two, the Bigfoot around here and these dogmen seem to leave the first snow, which is usually like mid-October into November. Right. I won't see any breaks, any tree breaks, any markings, nothing, all the way until the end of March. So they're obviously migrating out of the area. Or like I say to people, you know, is the porthole like frozen between November and March? I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, yeah. You were kind of cutting out there, but you were saying you don't believe there's a supernatural element, correct?
Correct. That's what I'm out there trying to prove to everybody.
Well, I have one video that I think it's labeled 12-foot dog man terrifies fishermen, or and then Bigfoot's in the title somehow too, because it seemed to be a Bigfoot throwing rocks at a guy, and then the dog man come through, and actually they saw the dog man, and it was huge, and it scared them really bad. But at the beginning of that, I did a lesson out of when Apostle Paul was saying that there's different kinds of flesh, right? Because I know that when I was talking to Vic Kunda from Dogman Radio, he said, sometimes I think they're supernatural because they do certain things that makes you think that, but then all of a sudden someone will see them eating roadkill or drinking from the creek, and he believes that eliminates them from being supernatural. But that's not true. Angels ate with people in the Bible, and they ate with Abraham. Angels, you take the manna that was given to Israel out in the wilderness. That was food that was given to them from heaven. It was, another dimension. So eating and being physical does not exclude you from being supernatural. The only thing different about it would be that they would be higher vibrational and able to do certain things like infrasound and different things like that, which I believe in the scriptures would have been what angels did to people sometimes when they smote someone with blindness and things like that. They had this extra ability to alter someone's flesh and shake them to the core, or sometimes the Bible talked about being struck with madness. An angel would come down and smite someone with madness or fear, or with different things like that. But they were physical. They weren't, if they wrestled with Jacob and Jacob threw his hip out, and angels are supposed to be ministering spirits. Just because something's spiritual doesn't mean it's not physical, that it doesn't have a body. If you were to shoot it, a bullet would hit it. You know what I'm saying? But they do seem to have the ability to go through a portal, but it's not like they do that all the time. They're here. Does that make sense?
If there is a supernatural aspect to this, then I'm done. I am only out there because I think these are flesh and blood. And, a lot of my Christian friends, I'm out demons, and, they're interdimensional. I just done no research, so I shun them for that. And, of course, they think, right, I'm not facing demons, but that's just ridiculous.
No, I mean, a demon, to me, a demon is a disembodied spirit, so it's not a demon.
Right. But they think that a demon can possess these things. And I'm like, they have a soul.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a theory of mine. I don't know for sure. But I think they would be more akin to the Nephilim type thing if it was a supernatural, or they may just be a type of ape or something, or I don't know. It's hard saying, but they certainly seem very intelligent, and that just seems to kind of steer away from just a normal animal. Can you hear me? Okay, just saying. All right, we got cut off there, so I had to reestablish a connection and go to a hardline connection so that I'm not drawing off the Wi-Fi, folks. Sorry about that. Now, Dr. Squatch, I would like to move on to the Dogman topic. And I know that you were out there looking for these Bigfoot, and you started being aware that you might be recording something other than Bigfoot. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Sure. I posted, I had a little baby Bigfoot that was looking up at me, and I've got a good picture of him, and I posted online, awesome baby Bigfoot looking up at me. And one of the ladies, Love Nature Pets, who enhances my videos, her and a guy named JP, I'm so grateful for both of them. They go through and enhance my videos, and she emailed me, and she says, that's not a Bigfoot baby, that's a Dogman pup. And I wrote back, what? I said, I can't tell people that. I mean, it's bad enough I got to say a baby Bigfoot. And in real capital letters, I am not putting Dogman pup. And she writes back and she says, look, if you're going to be one of the top researchers here and you're going to go to TV, and you got to know talking about. You can't misrepresent something that it isn't. I wrote back again, and I said, look, I am not saying this is a dog man. I don't even know what the heck that is. I am not putting that down. So I thought about what she said and started doing more research. And I'll tell you what, Brennan, I'd say about 90% of the pictures that I come back with are these dog men. I had no idea.
Yeah.
But it seems like that they're a little bit more prevalent than the Bigfoots. Last thing in my mind I would have ever thought, and just when this couldn't get any crazier with Bigfoots and baby Bigfoots, now I got to mix dog people in on that. So, now I'm out there, filming these dog men, and I'm kind of glad that I found out, because I probably would have, went by about 60 of them, not even, looking for them.
Right.
But, yeah, they are just everywhere. Brenton, I'm filming dog men. I got things that look like cats, like horses, like elephants, like aardvarks. I mean, and all my pictures are there. All my videos are there for everybody to look at.
Yeah.
I'm almost scaring myself out of the woods, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Crazy, But the thing is that none of these creatures are going to hurt us. I'm convinced of that. I was saying in my video yesterday that these creatures are in survival mode, and if they pop out and you see one, for all they know, we're going to come back with 50 bloodhounds and shotguns and flashlights, and and eradicate your family.
Yeah, that's what used to happen in the old days, and I bet you they probably passed that knowledge down, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah. They used to come with the torches and and things like that. But the dogman thing was a surprise to me too. And sometimes when I'm covering these subjects, it's like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? This is so absurd. But it's what convinces me more than the pictures is the people who have encountered these things that where they weren't cloaked or they weren't trying to hide, where one steps out and people describe them and they say, look, this was a dog on two legs and he walked, across the road or was eating a roadkill or, it's insane, but it's true. I mean, some of these people I know, and I know they're not lying. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yes, and I'll tell you, if one of these things comes popping out on the tree with me while I'm not videoing, at least I'm a good distance away from them when I'm filming them. This scares the living crap out of me, and I might be. Sam will come in with a bigger caliber weapon. But lately I've been going out unarmed and not even with a knife because I'm convinced they're just not going to hurt me.
Yeah, well, Vic Cundiff says that it doesn't matter if you had a gun anyway, because I have one video where I have a story in there where these Bigfoot researchers actually did shoot one of these dog men that seemed aggressive towards them, and it didn't kill it. It ended up falling down after like 3 or 4 shots, but it still got up and ran off. So if they wanted to kill you, they would. I mean, they would have no problem doing it.
Right. Yeah, that's why I think if anybody ever shoots a Bigfoot or a dog man, there is no way you're going to get it out of the woods. No way. They would never let you take one out. They'd rip your head off before you ever got one out of the woods. Right. So the skeptics, they always will have the upper hand as far as that goes because, I guess until... like I said, hopefully some old lady hits one on the way home from church right in front of the TV stations. It's the only way we're going to get rid of them.
Yeah. I have a video on my channel where these guys in Texas, they drove up on a dog man that had just been hit. And it was... that video, Bretton. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, it was laying on the side of the road. And I told the guy... I think I told him in the video, and I had a follow-up interview in the next video where his 2 brothers were on there. So I ended up interviewing 3 of the witnesses to that. But I said, did you ever think for a second that the rest of the pack was in the woods waiting for you to leave? Because when they came back, the body was gone. And I said, look, they would have never let you take that body. There's no way. They would have came out there and tore that truck to pieces, and you'd have been a news story, you know, something happened on the interstate, you know, or the highway or whatever it was.
And they didn't get any pics. They didn't get any pics that day.
No, this was in the 1998, I think. Before cell phones had cameras on them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he said, "Look, if it was today, I would have had a selfie with that thing, you know." But they were scared to get out of the truck. It was a very ferocious looking creature laying there, and they contemplated getting out and throwing it in the truck, but they were kind of scared because it was.
I wonder how it died originally.
I don't know. They said that it was laying there on the side of the road, and there's blood was coming out of his mouth. So I believe that it got hit by maybe a semi or something like that, because they said they were looking for a vehicle that was wrecked, you know, because I know if you hit a deer, it messes your car up. But I was like, look, if you hit that thing with your car, if your car could go at all, you would go, because there's no way after looking at that thing crossing the road that you would, you know, want to remain in the area. You know, even when they stopped, they were scared, you know, and it was supposedly that, but he said he could see its chest kind of heaving and just a little bit, and he wasn't sure if it was dead or not. But when they came back, he said that the big pool of blood was gone and everything. So it was like the other dogman come out of the woods, they snagged the body. He thought maybe they licked the blood up or they scraped it up or whatever, but he said that it was like they sanitized the area, you know, they scraped the blood off because the blood was draining off in the gravel there. And very interesting story, and I believe the guy. You know, even the two brothers came on and told their part of the story. And I agree with you. I don't think that you would. These stories where people say they shot a Bigfoot and they, you know, someone might shoot one, but you would never get it out of the woods.
Right. Yeah, unless you're on a farm or something like that and wanted a couple 100 yards or something and you got everybody out there with the tractors. I don't know. I mean, but you got to find them first. You know what I mean? I'm one of the that can find them.
Right.
So. Yeah, this year hunting should be interesting. I told my buddy, I says, I'm not looking for deer. He started laughing.
Yeah. So you going hunting this year?
Yep. Yeah, we go bear hunting, and usually on the bear hunt, that's where, you know, you're getting into the real deep, thick stuff. And I'll be taking my camera with me. I'm going to be, you know, I'm more out filming, you know, Bigfoot evidence and dogman evidence than I'm going to be, you know, interested in bear hunting. But hey, if I see a bear, we'll get one. Yeah,
that's some good eating. I've had it before.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm surprised that they take 3,000 to 4,000 bear every year out of Pennsylvania, and I can't believe that a Bigfoot hasn't been shot yet. But so many times, you know, I remember bear hunting before I believed in Bigfoot. I'd have my scope up, and I'd think it was a bear, and I'd be like, nah, man, that's so blurry. You just can't focus your scope in and just go walk onto something else. And it was like, oh my goodness, now I know that was a Bigfoot or a dogman.
Right. Now, how often do you think that people are out there looking for Bigfoot and the Bigfoot are actually in the trees?
Man, I would only say that there's a handful of people on the planet that are out actively looking. I mean, you know, these people are like, oh, we would have found one by now. Well, you know, 5 people in the whole world are dedicated to going out and trying to find these creatures. You know, and another thing too, Brenton, it wasn't until my one buddy, he said, oh, everybody at my work thinks you have schizophrenia. And I said, what do you mean? He says, oh, you know, with this whole Bigfoot thing, and my friend believes they're in Canada, but they're not in Pennsylvania. And I'm like, dude, you know that Allegheny County is the #1 sighting report in the world for Bigfoot sightings. Oh, you know, well, so what? Is everybody in Allegheny County losing their mind? Or they really see something?
Yeah.
So, you know.
Well, and plus the those the Bigfoot signal each other. They're waiting. They have lookouts. They sit and whenever you enter, if one person enters the woods, they know it and they signal each
Oh yeah.
other, and everybody knows it. I really believe that.
Oh yeah. And they
So
are majorly in touch with the birds. I can't even tell you the crows that sit there and just bah, 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 right over top of my head. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Yeah,
yeah,
they definitely. I think they're in touch with the birds, and the birds are letting them know way before the people go.
yeah,
And they might not. They might not be, so much letting the Bigfoots know, but the birds just might have God put it in them to just. Maybe they're telling other birds, and the Bigfoot's picked up on it. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, I'm sure the Bigfoot could read the signs. Now I know
Right.
that David Politis went to a state park with, I think it was Carpenter. What's his name?
Todd Carpenter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he told David, he said, they were at the entrance of the state park, and he said, go up there to that really thick bushes there at the entrance to this trail, and he said, poke your face into those bushes, and he said, and cup your hands around your eyes and look. And he reluctantly went up there and did that, and so he went up there and stuck his head in there, cupped his hands around his eyes, and he just let his eyes focused. And he said, sure enough, I was looking at, a little ways away, 10, 15 feet. There was a Bigfoot face, as plain as day. And David Politis is a former cop. He knows, he's good at observation. And he doesn't seem to be a person that was exaggerate, even in his 411 books, he doesn't exaggerate, and he doesn't really even claim, the missing people in these state parks are for sure this or that. He lets you make the decision. But what it made me realize is that how much that wherever people are entering into the woods, typically there's lookouts. So there's no one that goes in the woods and them not be aware of it. It's their stomping ground. They're the ones that's it's like if someone moves something in your living room, you would notice it was moved. You know your environment, and I don't believe you can sneak up on them. In a few cases here and there that does happen, it's rare to catch them off guard.
Right.
So
yeah, that's one of the things that I recommend to people is if you were coming into an area and you were a Bigfoot, where would you hide? Where would you tell other people, hey, here comes someone? And if you think like that, you'll find them.
Right. Yeah. So that's kind of how you do it then, and I noticed that you're pretty good at looking at places that looks like that's where they would hide. So
right, thank you.
So you're catching more.
It just takes years of research, and I can tell you there's one tree break that they do that I can find in any woods, and they are 100% within 50 yards of this marker. It's kind of a little trade secret that took me about 5 years to find and formulate, but yep, I can go into any woods, and if I see this marker, they're right in there somewhere.
And so it's a certain type of way they break the tree?
Yes. Yep, and I either think that they either hang out within 50 yards of that break or that they live within 50 yards of this break. But I see it everywhere, and I'll see dens all around this break. And, gee, if everybody knew what it was, I think we'd be that much closer. But, I don't know, maybe one of these days I'll take a trip down to Kentucky and show you.
So it's something that you're not willing to tell?
Well, what the heck, I guess I will. Basically, it will be a tree about the size of a telephone pole, or a little bit bigger, and it's broke about, I'd say, 50 feet up, and it'll just be in the form of like a number 7.
Wow.
And you won't see, the breaks will usually be down near the bottom or whatever, but if you see a break about 50 or 60 feet up that looks like the number 7, they are definitely in 50 to 60 yards of that tree break.
Wow, that's
And
incredible.
in fact, maybe later on I'll go over to the park and take a picture of a couple of those trees just to show you exactly what I'm talking about. But that's definitely one of the key markers to look for.
So
But
50, because I
these,
mean
I don't know
something
if you
that high
saw
up,
any.
that takes a Bigfoot to do that. I mean, there's no
Yes,
way.
most definitely. And I don't know if it's one doing it or 10 of them or, I don't know. But another thing, too, are these plastic bags. They're using white bags and blue bags, tying them in the trees. And I can follow these bags right to those 60-foot markers. They lead you right to them every single time.
Wow.
And I guess these tree breaks, they rot over time, or people might cut them down. So I think they're using these blue bags because they're easy to see and they don't deteriorate.
Right.
And if they blow away, they just tie another bag on. And I got a lot of heat for those blue bags, but it's funny because it's like I'm crawling on my hands and knees, and I'll see a tied bag, and somebody will email me from the Saharas, dude, I was crawling on my hands and knees, and I see tied blue bags underneath these bushes. So,
Yeah. I've seen that in a video before. That's interesting. Wow. And it was blue too. I wish I could find that video. I didn't think about it, much, but he pointed it out.
Yeah, and then I have researchers emailing me from Ohio, Michigan, everywhere, they were seeing blue bags tied up and down the highways with brakes, and it almost, I guess generally people think it's litter, but I really started seeing just bags out of the ordinary where they should be, and how can a bag blow through jagger bushes and not get snagged? You know what I mean? That's clearly something went in there and put that bag underneath that bush.
Right. Now the teepee structures, what do you think those are?
I think that they're blinds that they make, so when the deer go by, they can just jump out on the deer.
Okay.
Definitely found a bunch of teepees.
And then they use tree break stuff a lot, don't they, to mark like highways and things like that?
Yes, they mark where people are. They mark where it's safe for them to travel, where it's not safe. They mark where deer are. They mark where bucks are, where does are. It took me about 4 years to figure that all out, but I definitely have that all researched out.
Now sometimes I notice the leaner type, like they'll have a tree that's a different species than where it's leaning. They'll have like a limb leaned up. What kind of marker you think that is? Like a directional or?
That is a travel marker,
Wow.
And if you skim along the highways, like you'll see them pointing across the highway, that means you can keep going that way. But if they're pointing back in toward the woods, that means go back. And if you guys start really looking at them, you'll see, oh my goodness, Dr. Squatch was right. There's all these houses, and the leaners are pointing back into the woods.
Wow. So that's. And
they'll always use a dead white stick for a leaner. Like you said, it's out of the ordinary. It's not a tree that
right.
doesn't belong there.
Yeah, that's what kind of made me think about it, because it would be like a oak leaning up on a cherry tree. It's like then there's not an oak tree near. You know what I'm saying? It's like, where did that come from? I mean, that's just I'm guessing.
It's kind of funny that somebody was commenting on my channel the other day, and she said, wow, all those X and Y markers, she said, that makes me think chromosomes. And I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. I never thought of that.
Yeah, for real.
But when she said that, it kind of made me think maybe it's male and female. Maybe that's how they're differentiating it's just a theory again. I don't know. Yeah.
But it shows you that there is a fairly sophisticated signage and communications going on with out there in the woods. So when people say, why haven't we found them or anything like that, then they're like special ops people out there in the woods. You're not going to see a special ops sniper, and they're better than snipers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was thinking if I got all camoed up in my leaf outfit, and I went back into the woods and in a small area, and I said to somebody, "I'll give you $1,000 if you can find me." I guarantee you they couldn't find me.
Right, yeah. I
You know
mean,
what I mean?
you
Even if I was just hiding behind a tree like the Bigfoots do, and you're walking to the left, I just got to move a little bit to the right behind that tree, and you just walk right by me.
right.
So, you know, or I'll lay down on the ground in a bunch of other leaves. You'll never see me.
Right, yeah. Oh yeah, I used to do that kind of stuff, man, when I was a kid, man. Me and my brothers, we would camo out and we would go out in the woods and play war games. I could have people walk right by me 3 feet from me and I'd be laying there in the weeds or the bushes,
Huh.
you know, camoed. I'd paint my face up and everything. And if you've ever been deer hunting, a lot of times you're sitting there thinking, man, I don't know if a deer's ever going to come by here. And all of a sudden you're sitting there gawking and you realize there's a deer standing right there and it's been there for a little bit. They blend
Yeah.
well. So these Bigfoot creatures are like Marine Corps or Army snipers. You would never see an Army sniper or a Marine Corps sniper. They can sneak around in the woods and never be seen. And I think the Bigfoot, Dogman, and stuff like that, they're 10 times better than those, and that's why. Now, when it comes to camera traps, do you think that they can see on a higher level than our eyes, and maybe they see the infrared, and so they avoid the camera traps?
No, I think there's just so many of them in the trees and in the woods that they see you coming in. You know, they're seeing these. I've had my SD cards taken out before, but my camera's still there. I mean, you know, that is the goofiest thing. Someone's not going to leave a $300 camera and take my SIM card. That doesn't make any sense.
Wow.
So, you know, I'm thinking these Bigfoot are watching you walk in, open your camera, push your finger up there, take that card out, go home, then you come back, you open that thing, and you put the thing back in there. I mean, that's, you know, how else, who would take a SIM card and leave my camera there?
How many times have you had that happen?
Smashed into the ground, ripped off, you name it. They know.
How many times have you had your card? How many times have you had your SIM card gone?
Just once.
All right, and you're sure you put one in it?
Oh yeah, because I went and took it out.
Wow.
You know, and then I erased the footage because there was nothing on there, and I went back and I put it in there. And that particular day when I put the SIM card back in there, I put like 50 anchovies all over the woods. You know, I was trying to draw them in there like stinky fish.
Yeah.
And put a bunch of bagels up in the tree and stuff like that, and everything was gone, and my SIM card was gone. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
So you actually erased some stuff that was already on that SIM card to restart it?
Yeah, and it would be like deer, or one thing that I kept getting was like these swarms of bugs would come from behind the camera, like, you know, 70,000, and would set the camera off, and all the bugs would leave behind the camera. You know, and to me, that's a Bigfoot or a Dogman coming in from behind the camera. Because, you know, you don't see bugs at night. Not swarms like that.
Yeah.
I don't even see them on deer.
Yeah,
So,
that's
you know,
interesting.
yeah, but I'm done with trail cams. You're just never going to get one.
Yeah. So that tells you right there how good they are at communicating and observing people coming into the woods. You aren't going to go in there.
It's either that or, like you said, you know, like you know your house, and if somebody, you know, moves a cup, you're going to know right away. So that you strap a black can to the tree, it's sticking out like a sore thumb. Right.
Yeah. I believe it's a combination of that. I don't believe that you're ever in the woods and they're not noticing where you're at. You know, I just don't believe. If it's any size of woods at all, you know, where they are, I just believe they know who's there. Where you live, where they live, they have lookouts. You're not going to enter into where they're at and then surprise them. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So you have to get that. That's why I think that people like Kirk Stokes or yourself, if they're getting familiar with you and they're seeing you all the time, they might get more comfortable about, you know, laxing up a little bit while you're around, and you might catch them on camera. A little, you know, clear and clear.
Yeah, that's definitely another thing. I am coming in very quietly and whispering on camera, and even though they're alerting that someone's here, I can probably get 50 or 60 yards closer by whispering and you know, being real quiet than if I was just talking like I'm talking to you right now and being loud walking. So that's definitely an advantage. I'm very stealthy and very quiet when I'm going in. And I think when I'm whispering, they're like, yeah, who's he whispering to? You know, or who's he talking to? So they kind of peek their heads out. They're a little curious of me.
Yeah.
And I think that when I go to a new area, that they're real curious, you know, like, who is this and what's he doing? And I wanted to tell you one thing also. I've never been EMF'd filming. I've only been EMF'd hunting. So it's, you know, I'm out there, like, with my gun, so I don't know if, you know, these Bigfoot think that we might be hunting them, so they're infrasounding us, you know, as, like, for protection, because they're paranoid.
Right.
I've never been infrasounded with a camera.
Wow. Yeah, they don't see the camera as a threat then, and
well, I think
maybe.
they do. Like the one lady told me, she said, "You're more safe with a camera than you are with a gun." And I, you know, geez, oh man, it's like, you know, I don't know if, you know, they know what a camera is. They obviously they know it's something bad.
Yeah.
You know, I know they don't think it'll kill them, but I think that they might know it might prove them or something.
Yeah. Yeah, they might be reading the body, you know, like over time they maybe have read the body language that there's something about this little thing they're carrying there that they point it, and, you know,
Right.
who knows for sure, but they know what a gun is.
Yeah.
I believe that, because they probably pass that knowledge down.
Thought of one more thing I wanted to tell you on a previous story before we got cut off.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I was talking to a chiropractor friend, and he has a patient who owns a horse farm, and it's actually a lady right across the street from where I'm having all these sightings. And he said that 2 of her horses got mauled by a Bigfoot. She saw it. So I said, you got to get me in touch with this lady. So I ended up meeting the lady. And she said that she showed me like 12 foot up. There was 4 by 8s, I think, or 2 by 8s, and they had giant scratches in them. And you know, about 12 feet up. And she said, "Well, what do you think it is?" And I said, "I know what it is. What do you think it is?" And even though she sees this thing, she said it looked like a giant black panther. Is the best she could. Because when she came out and up at the barn door, it just took off. It was like a black big blur. But the one horse, it broke its back and its neck, and that one died. And the other one, it broke its leg and gouged its eyes out. So it lived, but it's blind, I guess.
Man.
And boy, I took this lady out for about 3 hours and showed her all the breaks, and she said, "Oh my goodness," she said, "we just moved here from Ohio, pal, because there was too many bears there, and now you're telling me there's Bigfoots in my big yard, in my backyard."
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, she really jumped up my credibility. So when I went into the gym to tell everybody about what happened across the street, you know, the skeptics, "Oh, well, you know, unless it's in a cage and we can spit on it, we're not believing." So, you know, these skeptics, my goodness, what's it going to take?
Why do you think that it would have killed their horses like that?
I don't know.
Maybe they were going to eat it? Well, I mean, they would have took it if they're. I guess they would have took it.
Go ahead.
They would have took it if they were going to eat it, I reckon, wouldn't you think? Or
yeah, you got me. You know, maybe it was a bear. I don't know why a bear would attack a horse, or if that's common, or I don't know. I mean, sometimes I guess you hear these Bigfoot braiding the hair on horses. I think Mel McCutcheon had a few videos of that or something, but you know, you got me. Maybe it did, like, maybe you wanted the lady to move or something. I don't know.
Yeah, or you know, maybe the horses did something and it ticked one off. You know, I guess they could get mad. Right. You know, because I don't see a bear breaking the neck and all that kind of. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. You'd have to grab it.
Yeah. So wow. I mean, it's hard saying.
She said there were no bite marks or anything. It was, you know, just like physical strength.
Right. Maybe a horse trampled on a juvenile or something. You know, out in the field.
Yeah. It's just very weird. You know, I don't know. She said that behind the horses, where the 2x8s were all scratched, is where all the horse feed is.
Oh.
So I don't know if they, you know, it looked like they were trying to get past the horses to the feed. So maybe the horse kicked them or something.
Yeah. Maybe they were getting the feed, and something went down. Maybe they kicked the juvenile, or it's hard saying.
You know,
probably had to do with the feed. Yeah, that makes more sense. You know, when it comes to food.
Right.
You know, better let me have some of that feed, or I'm gonna break that neck. You know?
Yeah.
It's hard saying, man, but that's interesting for sure. Because I don't believe a bear would do it like that, and you know, scratch that far up on the post and what have you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a good 12 feet up.
Because that would take a grizzly bear to do that, wouldn't it? Up that high?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Well, interesting, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on today, Dr. Squatch.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and you're a blessing for what you're doing.
Well, thank you, man, and we'll have to have you come back on. Let me post this and see what kind of reactions we get. And do you mind if I take a couple clips from a video or two here and there and post it while we're during the interview?
All of my stuff is up for anyone to do whatever they want to, with or without my permission.
All right. Well, that sounds great, man. Well, I would never take anything without asking or letting you know, and that way you know what's going on with it. And I appreciate.
You have liberty to do what you want, buddy.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Squatch. Hey, maybe sometime we'll have to go on an expedition.
That's for sure. I will come down to Kentucky and see you.
Yeah, we'll go do some camping. Hey, I'll tell you what, you, me, and Kirk Stokes ought to go out sometime. Kirk's been getting a lot of stuff, and I think you would really probably get along with him pretty good too, because you all are able to capture stuff, and I've never tried my hand at actually going and getting the footage. You know, I collect the stories and make the videos, but that would be fun. We got some really nice places around in Kentucky here. With the Mammoth Cave is a really good area, the state park there, and there's a lot of dogman type stuff. There's a lot of Bigfoot activity and other types of activity too. It's a very strange area, and so we'll talk about that.
Maybe in another month or two, whenever fall comes and it starts getting real brown here, it's probably going to be a little more greener down your way.
Yeah. Well, you let me know, man. We'd be glad to do that. That'd be fun.
Then you won't have to do Skype. I'll be right there.
All right. Yeah. That would be great, man. That would be awesome. If you really wanted to do that, I'm not kidding, me. I would go, and I'm sure Kurt would go, and
Oh, great.
hard telling. We might get the definitive proof. You never know.
What was that last part, buddy?
We might get the most perfect definitive proof video. You never know what we might get.
Oh, I hear you. I got a feeling God hooked us up, and He'll take us through.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, and we'll talk to you later.
My pleasure, buddy. God bless. Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, all you out there in YouTube land, I ask that you subscribe, comment, share the videos, hit the like button, and I will put Dr. Squatch's channel in the drop-down menu. If you click on the top right of the screen, you'll see a little drop-down, and I'll feature his channel in the drop-down menu, and also leave a link in the description. So I appreciate you all taking the time today to watch the video and making it all the way through it. And God bless, and I'll see you on the next video.